What is up, guys? I'm Francis the instructor, and on today's tutorial we're going to learn why and how we do the emergency stop. Okay, so firstly, why is it important to learn this? It's really important because as a human, your natural reaction to anything that's shocking or scary is going to be to freeze. Imagine if you're scared of spiders or heights or something, what happens when you experience that fear? You freeze and you do nothing. In a car, that's the worst reaction to anything. In a car, if you experience shock, like a kid's just run out in front of you or a cyclist fell over in front of you and you freeze and do nothing, that's the worst reaction because your car carries on. That's not what we want to happen. So we need to train ourselves up to have a different reaction, and it's going to be a reflex, which is why we do this over and over again. The reflex needs to be just to press and slam on the brake as hard and as fast as possible. So should we experience an emergency in the first place? Let's be real. If you're anticipating and planning ahead and you're anticipating well enough, you should be able to predict what's happening next on the road. But there's always stuff that we can't predict that can happen. Like you can't see behind big lorries in the road that are parked up. Someone could be behind it and run out at the last minute just as you're coming past. You can't predict that. You're never going to anticipate that that might happen. You might be able to slow your pace down so that you're doing an appropriate speed for the road, but you will never be able to react to something that you can't see. So we need to practice this and get the reflex right so that we can stop safely and quickly if the worst happens. So how do we do an emergency stop? You're going to be driving down the road at the appropriate speed for the road. Do you have time to check the mirror? No way. If there's someone that's in front of you and you're imminently going to hit them, you do not have time to check the mirror. If there's a car behind tailgating you, as in driving too close behind, that doesn't matter at all. You'd rather have them hit you from behind than hit the pedestrian or the road user or the cyclist in front of you. You can fix that on insurance. You can't fix that on insurance. So no time to check the mirror. We're just going to react nice and quickly. Obviously, usually when you're braking, you're going to check the mirror because you don't want to cause accidents unnecessarily. But in this case, we've got no time. The next thing that you're going to do is press the brake as hard and as fast as possible. This should be quite violent and the force should push you forwards. You're going to react to that by pushing yourself back into the seat so that you can maintain the correct distance from the steering wheel. If you're too close to the steering wheel and your airbag deploys, that's going to be a problem. The airbag comes out at a speed of 200 miles an hour. So if you're too close to it, it's going to hit you and it's going to be really uncomfortable. So we need to maintain the correct distance from the steering wheel. Also, if the hazard that you're trying to avoid is too close to you, you might still need to steer around it. You need to be the correct distance away from the steering wheel so that you can maintain steering control. If I'm here, I can't steer properly. While you're doing or practicing the emergency stop, it's really important that you keep two hands and a firm grip on the steering wheel and don't steer. Only steer if you actually have to avoid something. Steering while you're braking really heavily is going to encourage your car to slide, and we don't want that to happen. Just before you come to a stop, you're going to want to put the clutch down so the engine doesn't stall. Don't put the clutch down too early though, and definitely don't press the brake and clutch at the same time. Why not? If my first reaction is to press the brake and clutch at the same time, yes, I'll be slowing the car down with the brakes, but I'm losing all of the engine braking. Remember, we want to stop the car as quickly and as safely as possible. The engine actually creates quite a lot of braking force, and we don't want to cut that out as well. Imagine this, if you press the gas, what happens? The car speeds up. When I take my foot off the gas, what happens then? The car doesn't maintain the same speed, it slows down. So that whole slowing down force that you've got from the engine braking plus the brakes are going to help your car to stop much more quickly. So don't press the clutch down, leave the clutch up until the last minute when you're about to stop. Once you come to a complete stop, put the car in neutral and put the handbrake on. Make handbrake neutral after you stop a habit, so practice it, work it into your practice routine. When you come to a stop and you've nearly hit someone, you're going to want to get out of the car and check on them. If the car's in first gear, you open the door, you lift your foot off the clutch, what's going to happen next? The car's going to lurch forward and hit them anyway. That's silly. If my handbrake isn't on and I get out of the car's then going to roll back down the hill and hit other stuff as well. Handbrake neutral at the end. And here's the important bit. This is how you could possibly fail your driving test on this. So listen, when you set off again after your emergency stop, you need to do a full check around the car. You're sitting in the middle of the road and your car's stationary. Anything could be coming around the left or right side of your car to overtake the stationary vehicle that's in the middle of the road. Quick 6-point check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if it's clear, then move off. You don't need to signal because you're in the middle of the road. Signaling left or right would be confusing and misleading. Just drive on when you know that it's clear. If you have to do the emergency stop as part of your driving test, this won't happen randomly. The examiner will pull you over at the side of the road and give you a speech and explain what's about to happen. He'll say something like, the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is perform an emergency stop. When I raise my right hand and say the word stop, you will stop the car as quickly and as safely as possible. And then you know it's imminent. How likely is it to happen to you on your driving test? 1 in 3 that's 2. 1 in 3 driving tests have to do an emergency stop. So practice it, make sure you've got it down right, and if it happens to you, you'll be comfortable with the procedure. When we're learning the emergency stop, it's also really important to understand how ABS works and how it will affect you under heavy braking. ABS stands for anti-lock braking system. So how it works is, imagine your car's on ice. You press the brakes really hard, your wheels are going to stop rotating and you're going to skid out of control. Even on tarmac, the car's got so much weight and momentum that your wheels, if you press the brakes really hard, will lock up and you will still skid out of control. So what ABS does is it mimics a technique that we used to use called cadence braking. It disengages and reapplies the brake about 10 times a second so that your wheels keep spinning. You can maintain steering control and you won't skid out of control. What does that mean for you? Nothing. All you need to do is smash on the brake as hard and as fast as possible, and the ABS will take over and do the rest of the work for you. You might feel it in your brake pedal as a but feeling, or it might feel a bit crunchy. That's good. If you feel that, keep your brake firmly pressed into the brake pedal. It's not broken. If you take your foot off the brake at that point because you think it's weird, then you'll keep going at high speed. So keep your foot down. The computer in your car that controls the anti-lock braking system will only kick in when it feels you about to skid. It will only start to activate when it feels the wheels start to under rotate. So it's only going to kick in when you're about to skid. If you feel it, it's good, it's helping you. You're going to feel it more when it's wet because your wheels have less grip, especially in snow or ice. That's when you're going to feel it even more. Okay, so let's have a go at doing an emergency stop. Obviously, I'm going to check the rear view mirror because I'm not going to do anything stupid. The examiner on your driving test will do the same. They're going to be checking around the car and making sure there's nothing behind and nothing that could be affected by you braking sharply. That's great because it gives you the confidence to know that you can do the emergency stop procedure properly, not checking the mirror. You know the examiner's done that for you. Handbrake and neutral is on. I can relax now. Next thing, prepare, observe, and move. So you notice I didn't panic when I did that emergency stop. I did it calmly and safely because I've practiced it a lot. You need to practice this a lot as well with your driving instructor. It's not to get the technique because the technique's easy. It's so that you can build up the reflex so that when something shocking happens in the road, you don't think, you just brake. Just like that. Comment below. I read through all the comments. If anything else needs explaining or anything didn't make sense, comment below and I'll do my best to make it make sense for you and explain it better. If there's any other videos you want to see, comment below. Follow me on Instagram at Francis the Instructor. Follow Get Licensed Driving School as well, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.